Hello, we're going to write a script, what might be your first script.
It's party time!
I agree, it is.
P-A-R-T. Why?
Because we're gonna write our first script. Let's go. So in Unity, in the project window, I can just right click, create C# script. And I already did this once before, but just in case, and we're gonna name it hello. And then to open our script, it's loading, but we're gonna go up to edit and then preferences. And then in our preferences, we wanna go to external schools and we wanna set what is Unity going to be talking to or talking with and working together. So our external script editor doesn't matter which version of Visual Studio, you just want to have Visual Studio listed here. And then once you have set that, it saves automatically as far as this window. Currently, we can exit that out. Now, what we want to do is go ahead and go File, Save Project, and File, Save, which saves our scene. Save Project is going to save all of our settings for our project. Then we're going to open this up by double-clicking it, and now it'll open up with Visual Studio. One of the most common errors I see that beginners have is when they don't name their script, the file name, and the class exactly the same, or if they, for instance, rename their script. It'll be here at the top, hello.cs, but also on line 5, you'll see it says public class hello. Right, these need to be exactly the same, spelled the same, capitalized. Line 7 in green text is a line that is a comment which is ignored by the compiler. 2 forward slashes actually designates that this is a comment. So we can write comments and be able to explain maybe what something is supposed to be doing, or make a note like, hey, to do, we need to remember to go do this, or whatever. And there's also another way to comment out as well. So when you have a large group of code, we can put a / asterisk, and then at the end, a */ and that will comment out a group of code. Specifically, if you're wanting to troubleshoot code and maybe you want to just turn something off, we could just comment it out so that it's ignored for the moment until we figure out what maybe we need to do or want to do, and then we can delete the comments afterwards. Now, this start function or start method is built in with Unity. It comes from the Unity engine, and it is a mono behavior that actually runs one time when the start is loaded. So what we're going to do is we're going to just write our first little thing, and there's 2 ways that we can write this. But the first one is the print, which is a mono behavior. It will print a message which logs it to the console window, and that's so that we as a developer or editor can see that. When we're writing a print, we need to put quotations inside the parentheses, and then we can just write whatever sentence we would like. Hello, my name is Mr. G. Don't forget to add a semicolon at the end, which is kind of like a period to a sentence. We are ending our statement with a semicolon. And then another way to write this is there is a debug tool. Debug comes from the Unity engine, and it's a class, right, which is like a script that has a bunch of other functions. So there's lots of debug functions that we can use for troubleshooting our code later on. And one of those is similar to print in that it's debug.log, and it logs a message. And then it's the same thing, parentheses, and then quotations. Glad you are here. Voila. A quick side note here. One of the things you'll notice is that you're going to have to make sure that you spell, capitalize, and punctuate everything correctly. This is a fairly simple script, but first starting out, there is a little bit of that frustration of getting used to writing code and having the correct syntax. So you'll want to analyze this and evaluate it very carefully, looking at the words, and you can kind of pick out some of the rules already, just like we have these curly braces go together, and you can see the dotted line. So you have one on line 6 and one on line 20, right? You have the parentheses are always going to go together in pairs. Quotations always together in pairs. Ending a statement with a semicolon, right? So there's all these different pieces of a syntax, and we're going to talk more about that later. But for now, if I save this and we go back to Unity, it will load the script, but if I click play to play test what I have so far, it will not do anything because this script is not on a game object that's in our scene. It's in our project, but it's not being used in our game. Currently, our level right here is called sample scene. So what I could do is right click, create an empty object. And just in case on the transforms, if you have any weird numbers or it's offset somewhere, you can click the 3 dots and do reset. That'll reset the position, rotation, and scale to the default values. And we can drag our script onto it. And I could call this game object hello. Then we go to our console window. If you don't have this window, you can reset your layout, or you could go up to window and find it here under general, because this is one of the general windows. And they've got them grouped together for when you're looking for specific windows. So now if I click play, you'll see it switches from my scene view to the game view. There's not really anything to visually see, but inside of the console, I get 2 messages, right? The first one, hello, my name is Mr. G, and I am glad you are here, right? So really simple, but this is just kind of jumping in to write our first little script, and we can turn off play before we do anything else, because if you make changes to your game while you're in play mode, most changes are not saved. So we want to turn off play mode, and then now we can go ahead and save. Always save, especially save before you play test so you don't lose anything. Now if we jump back into our script, I'm going to delete these comments here. You may make a note of that for future reference, just so you have it there for comments. Now in update is a function that is a mono behavior that's built into Unity, and it runs every frame. So I could print, and I'll say running update. So we'll get to see how this function works in our game. We save that. Unity may take a second. Our script is still on our game object, but I'm going to go to our console, and I'm going to click play. And the defaults here is it's going to keep running, so you can see the time here, 33, 34, 35. Now that's seconds, so you see there's a bunch of 38s, a bunch of 39s. So if I do collapse, because this is the same line of code, it's collapsing it and showing you that this is already ran or 28,000 times and counting. So running update, this print message is running probably hundreds of times per frame, and so it collapses that one thing. Now this is great if you're getting the same error message as well multiple times. With collapse on, it will just put it in one grouping. So to turn that on and off, there's this button here. You saw me click it off before, and that is you just click that. So if I turn off play now, I have all these messages. They're old. Now usually when I click play, it's going to erase all of them and play the game, and then it'll reload any errors, messages, and warnings. But for right now, if I just didn't want to see anything, I could just go ahead and press clear, and then it clears everything out, so we have a fresh start. Now, clear won't always clear everything out. If you have a broken script, it's going to still show the current error right here. And so you'll press clear and it won't do anything. So C# is very picky. in that if we were to change something, like maybe I was to try to do a capital P, I get an error, I could save that, come back to my script, and you see it says, well, you're trying to run this function called print with a capital P and it doesn't exist. I can try to clear it and it won't go away. So that is because there are rules in C# that we're going to go over, though, and one of those is capitalization. So a capital P print is not the same as a lowercase print. So this function, if I hover over it, it shows you this is a mono behavior that comes from Unity. So this specific mono behavior has to be accurate. So it shows you here mono behavior dot print. That's kind of the dot address where it's located, and a capital P doesn't exist. So anyway, hope that gives you a good introduction here. Comments really important, and using print or debug.log will be an extremely useful tool when troubleshooting code. Don't forget to save as well.